And we're back for 2019. Welcome to the Week 4 post-game show for the Rhode Island Legacy Leagues. I'm Joey Zacco, coming off an all right performance this week. But the real story, and Cruz and I are twinning with the Legacy League hoodies. The real story is this guy behind me. Got him ready for 2019. Had to get some decorations on the red walls behind me, but let's get to who's joining us today. We have, as always, Tyler Cruz and Jeremy Morrison. Tyler, how's it going, man? Nice hoodie.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. It's really comfortable. Fits me really nice. I'll wear it to work today.
Nice. Jeremy, what's up?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a fun week working, being back at school, and I'm happy to be here.
Nice. Yeah, so we are back in the swing of things for 2019. We have some Week 4 action to get to, so let's jump into it. We'll start with the first game of the night. It was the game of the week, and it turned out to be the closest margin from Week 4. The Swish Kebabs took down the Skyhookers 58-52. I'm going to let you guys break down the games, and we were kind of talking before we jumped on air. I don't know if the Swish Kebabs were ever really threatened. I mean, it was a tied game going into the fourth, so in that sense, they could have lost. It was a close game throughout, but watching that game, I think they were the favorite, and I think they played that way, throughout most of the game. What say you, Cruz?
I think they really knew going in, even like you said, it was tied going into the fourth quarter, but they knew if the Skyhookers are going to come away with it, that it was going to be Brendan O'Donnell, and really only Brendan O'Donnell. I mean, if other people were going to score, it was going to be because he set them up. He's really one of the only real good ball handlers they have. That was my first time watching them, and that was my first impression of them. And I really think that the backcourt for the Swish Kebabs was just confident that they would outplay O'Donnell himself, no matter what the score was, if they needed to. And that's what they did. They have more weapons all around. And I think that's why they were so comfortable.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I predicted the Swish Kebabs were going to win this one, even though it was close. I just think that they have so many guys on their team that can create their own shot. Greg Bell and Cody Platt, even though Cody Platt didn't have the best game, shot only 26%, but they just have too many guys that you really have to defend at the highest level. And when that happens, you kind of lose track of other guys, and then they get buckets. And then they added a player,
Del Butler,
who didn't really get as much playing time as I thought he should have just on first glance. But he's an athletic 6'3" guy who can dribble and shoot and dunk for sure. So that's a huge addition for them. And so I think the Swish Kebabs are a team to look out for.
He's a very athletic player, Del. He's the little brother of an all-star from last session, Randy Butler, who also played for the Swish Kebabs. So I wasn't too surprised to see the athleticism and the talent that Del had. And I think that's what's going to put the Swish Kebabs ahead. I think going into this week before adding Del, they were kind of in the same tier as Werewolves, Boom Shakalaka, that kind of middle tier. But I think now they're up there with Halfway Crooks fighting for that 2 spot.
Yeah, and you say little brother, right? And everyone goes little.
Yeah, and he's bigger. Yeah, little. That's what I said to Tyler.
Exactly. Younger, yes, is more correct for sure. I think the other, surprising outcome from Week 4 would be the Duyes boys getting their first win, 68-34. So they do double up the pizza rolls. Cruz is the newly announced head coach, associate head
Looking
coach.
forward to that.
If it's
Stone Freeman, yeah.
yeah. Announces
that should be fun.
As the head coach.
Yeah.
You also did the interview, but you both were on that court, so I'm going to throw it over to you guys. But, I mean, Duyes boys seemed to dominate this one in a game of teams coming in that were both searching for their first win.
Yeah, and they knew coming in that all really they had to do was slow down Rocco. And Rocco was scoring like almost 30 a game in his past couple of games, and they did just that. I think they gave up 8 points from him, and they were just faster. That's the one thing I noticed. They were faster, better ball handlers, and better defensively with the backcourt, and that's really what made a lot of the difference. And they scored the ball. They had more than Kutu. I mean, Aaron Avant had 24. Kutu had 13 and 17. Lugo had 13. Their new guy, Ant Malisi, had 10. So if they can spread that out, I mean, they can be one of the better new teams.
Yeah, I think Dewey's boys, they were looking like they had a lot of fun out there. They got ahead early, and then pizza rolls just kind of fell apart defensively. Every rebound the boys got, they were just running up the court and getting dunk after dunk. So the Pizza Rolls have to play a lot better defense. But great win by the Dewey's boys. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is the Bulls beating the Cavaliers. The Pizza Rolls aren't exactly Lob City. So they definitely look like they put it together, the Dewey's boys. But I don't know if this is the biggest victory that can be celebrated this week.
It's the first one. What I always like to say is the hardest step to take is that first step. And they're on the win. They're in the win column. They've played the halfway crooks already. They've played Lob City already. They've played the Werewolves already. So they kind of have a positive outlook for the rest of the season. I'm excited to get in the locker room. I mean, I'm trying to schedule a practice and grab a whiteboard or something. But I think they have a pretty good shot. They have a quick group of guys. They're very fast, and they have a couple talented ballers on the team. So,
yeah, that might be their best strength going forward. Obviously, the Rolls kind of got caught slipping a couple times defensively, but they like to run, and it looks like they're good at it. So if they can
they do it pretty well.
That 7 seconds or less offense, they might put some more W's up there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I see them as like a ceiling 3 wins, maybe 4. I told them today, I was like, we're looking at the 7-8 seed.
So positive outlook from Coach Cruz. That's how you make your mark on the team.
Well, we have 5 games left, and we play boom and swish. So 3 to 4 wins.
Math
ceiling.
Math, right? Shout out Aaron Avant, game high 24 points over there. Great game for him. And don't need to use their size. You guys talk about the speed, and I'm going to sound like I'm preaching for a second, but in the legacy leagues, if you can play fast and score a lot of points, that's usually a good recipe. And you mentioned the first win. Every win is hard in the legacy league.
Yeah.
And so the first one always feels the best, and then every win is like a sigh of relief because of how tough it can be. Boston Blazers didn't get their first win. They got their second win on the season, taking down Boom Shakalaka 81-59. Boom only had 4 guys, and we talked about it before we went live, missing 2 of their better players, in Lucas Martin and Cole Ferguson. So we can let Jeremy, jump in on this one, but you can touch on either team. But I mean, the Blazers took care of business. You can only play who shows up, and the Blazers, took care of Boom Shakalaka in week 4.
Yeah, I was just about to say that they took care of business. Obviously, Boom Shakalaka shorthanded, but the Blazers just totally dominated the game pretty much for the last 3 quarters. The first quarter went back and forth a few times. But Corey Strickland really was knocking down shots. I don't know how consistent of a shooter he's going to be for the whole season. He definitely can look like he's a great shooter, but then he can get a little Westbrooky and put up some wild shots. But I think if he's cooking, then they're a good team. And who else? And I want to give a shout out to Mark Belleville. He was looking really good. I had a really fun time watching him play. He was only 12 for 34, but hell, he was the only one scoring. He's the only one that could really control the ball for them this week. So shout out to Mark Belleville and good effort by them.
He did play really well. He can score the ball, and not just when he needs to. He can really score the ball when he wants to. We've seen it with him. But like you said, I mean, that shooting percentage is poor, but it's poor throughout the entire team because it was such a fast-paced game, and both teams took a lot of shots. And I think Belleville is helped when Lucas and Cole are there because he's kind of like the C. Like there's A and B, and then like nobody really pays attention to Belleville when you have Cole and Lucas out there. Because Cole's got the size, Cole's got the he can get the ball and he's kind of fancy with it. He can score inside, he can score mid-range. Lucas can shoot it from wherever he wants. So Belleville's kind of the forgotten man, and he benefits from that. And we see why.
Yeah, and Jeremy D'Amico, who I think is a good 3-point shooter, he was 0 for 4. I just think the shots weren't falling from tonight. So that was another reason why they fell behind pretty quickly. It was fun to see them play, though.
Yeah, and I think with the Blazers, they sub a lot. I think the reason Strickland may go on these cold sprees is because he's not out there a lot. I mean, 8 for 20, 19 points is good. 8 for 20 isn't the best. So you'd want to improve on that.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to get in foul trouble. He got 3 or 4 quick fouls in the first half alone, and then he quieted down. But if they're going to beat some good teams, he's got to be careful defensively.
Yeah, for sure. And
big game next week for them.
Yeah. Who do they get next week? I do have
me.
Oh, all right. Well, watch out, Blazers. Let me just say the 2 years, boys. I'm expecting some big adjustments out of.
I would love to watch that game.
Yeah, I will do my
It's
best.
gonna
I
be
think
a team
those are
effort.
two teams that are good buddies and like to have fun but compete hard. So
I
Yeah,
will.
they have great chemistry from both of those teams. That's what I noticed from the Blazers. They all really like each other. They come down from Boston. Like the Boston part isn't a joke. It isn't just for alliteration. It's that they're literally from Boston.
Yeah,
good for them.
very cool. And speaking of interesting games to watch, the Werewolves and Lob City. Now, Lob City did get the win. They improved to 4-0. You guys were not watching this one, so you guys can touch on some of the stats in a second. But it was a 10-point game after the first quarter, and then it actually ballooned to 15 or 16 early in the second quarter. And I was sitting over there. Coach Cody Crawford, he didn't even play. He was coaching because he hurt his hand. He was like, do I take a timeout? Do I not? I don't want to give them the satisfaction of us taking the timeout. And then the Werewolves took a timeout, up 15 or 16. And from that point, I mean, it doesn't matter who takes the timeout, right? From that point, it flipped, and Lob was able to get the lead at halftime. And so they erased it very quickly, whereas leading by 2, 3, 4 points at halftime, and then, continued their run in the third quarter. And it was about 10, 15 points the rest of the way. So never really threatened. I mean, the Werewolves never gave up. They played some of their best basketball that first quarter and a half. We're hitting shots, passing, all that good stuff. But, Lob City, even with 5 guys, Greg Holt doing Greg Holt things, and no Cody Crawford. So for Lob City to come out the way they did was huge.
Yeah, and Greg, he can do it all. I mean, as a point guard, he can rebound. He's a threat to go for a triple-double any night. I mean, granted, he gets a lot of attention taken away from him, from Cody and Victor. But I remember looking at the scoreboard and seeing 24-10 and then being like, oh, my God. And then looking at it a little bit later, and it was like 24-22 and then 29-27, Lob City. And I'm like, okay, it's over. They have the lead. I don't have to look anymore. Because once they get on that run, I mean, we've talked about this for years. They go on that run and they're done. It's all over.
For sure. And as we move on to the last game, not much more to talk about with Lob City, doing Lob City things. We're going to circle back around to them. We'll let you guys pick some standout players to wrap up the show. But let's finish up with the Halfway Crooks, taking care of the Bullworms 85-58.
Best for last.
Best for last. You know the deal. It was the Jared Hansen show. He exploded for 22 points. We've seen him do it before. Very efficient, 10 of 14. They really struggled guarding him one-on-one. So Cruz has seen this many a times when Jared can beat his man, which happens a lot. But when he can consistently do it, he's able to get to the hoop and create for everybody else. And Dylan Lincoln, a big game because they didn't have much size. They have Aaron Morrell, who did have some putbacks and some big plays down low. 14 rebounds for Aaron Morrell. So, he was making his presence known on the boards, and the Bullworms needed that. But, 35-70 for the Crooks. They shot it well. We jumped out early, and, a 27-point first quarter. So, you've both seen the first quarter struggles, right, for the Halfway Crooks.
Yeah, you came out of both breaks, huge.
Right. When we're actually able to put points up in the first quarter, we look like a different team. Noticeably, no Brett Cody as the Crooks get ready for Lob City next week. So that'll be a very interesting wrinkle. But Cruz, what do you got?
Is Cody going to be there next week?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. I really think that when Jared does this, it's kind of like he just flips a switch and becomes a different person, because a lot of times his stats will be looking like 4 for 7 with 14 points, 12 points, and he's doing his job offensively. He's moving the ball, he's facilitating, but there are nights where he just clicks and blows up, and I think that's just one of them. And then when you have that, it makes it easier for everybody else. And as you saw, 5 guys in double figures. When Jared is scoring at will, they have to put so much attention to him that it makes everybody else's job easier.
Yeah, I think a parallel between Halfway Crooks and Swish Kebabs is they have a lot of guys that can score and put the ball on the floor and create their own shot. And like you just said, 5 guys in double figures, and the last guy, Zach, had 8. They're sharing the ball. No one's dominating and taking more shots than they need to. Jared and Dylan Lincoln only shot 14 and 12 respectively. So these are guys that can kill you in a lot of different ways. And there's not one guy that if you take him out, well, then their team's done. They got 3 other guys that can score. Yeah,
and it sets up a matchup with Lob City next.
That's going to be exciting.
Which is going to be a good game, and so hopefully Cody's back for that one.
Both Cody's.
Both Cody's, for sure. Well done, Cruz. So to put a wrap on week 4, what's one player, whether you guys saw him or not, that you just want to give a shout out who really stood out in week 4, and someone that maybe is going to need to keep this up for their team to succeed throughout the rest of the season?
I'm going to sound biased, but I'm going to start with Aaron Avant. And it wasn't really the shooting, and it was really the driving. He was so athletic around the rim. I mean, he was jumping higher than I've seen most people in this league jump to finish. And granted, it was the pizza rolls, as you guys said. But if he can be that dominant, or even half as dominant from the wing, then it's going to open up a lot of looks for these other guys who can score. So it'll help a lot. And I just want to shout, 24 points is huge.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to shout out Corey Strickland. He kind of doesn't play like anybody else, and he takes a lot of mid-range shots, and he'll actually shot fake a 3 just to step in, but then he'll drill a 2, and he's exciting to watch. And I think he's really talented, but I think he really plays high energy, which can hurt him both with fouling and turnovers and maybe rush shots. But I wanted to give him a shout out because he looked really good this week, and I know he struggled the first couple weeks. And 8 for 20 isn't bad, so keep it up, Corey.
Yeah, and then the mid range is such a lost concept in basketball. I miss it. I love it.
I think Corey's one of those guys where the 8.5-foot rim is his specialty. I've never seen him play on a 10-foot, but he can drill those elbow jumpers.
I would say I agree with everything, except I think the 8.5-foot rim was probably designed for Joey Coro.
Oh, jeez, that was so close.
I would agree.
It was so close to being designed for Joey Zacco. It was so close.
Until we see you in a dunk contest or doing something that Coro does around the rim.
All right.
You could probably shoot just as good as on 10. That's my save myself.
Very nice. You guys missed your opportunity to shout me out. Not a problem. I'll do it really quick. 12 points. Come on. First points of the season. The shot's back. It's fixed. 2019. I'm here. Look out. I asked Greg Holt at the end of the Lob City interview that I was doing. I just said your opponent next week has a really good shooter. Any words? And he said, face guard him. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to the Lob City defense next week. Guys, really good job on the week 4 post-game show. And we'll be back at the Johnston Rec Center on Wednesday, January 16th, next week, for week 5. Jeremy, Tyler, thank you. And we'll see everybody next week.